Hello and welcome. I decided to put a little drawing pictorial together for my some tips and tricks on how to lay out an animal. I've got some pictures here of different styles of wolves, and this is the one that I actually worked from. So you can see they're not exactly, but what's most important to me when I'm looking at other pictures for inspiration is not to be a photocopier. I just need placement, I need size, structure, and just play with a different dimension and try to get those shadows. And a lot of times when I want to see those shadows, I'll actually print this out in black and white. And that helps me a lot as well. But what I was trying to go and mimic a little bit was the way these colors kind of go. I love the way they're brindled. And, so I was trying to get that effect a little bit. And of course, drawing with white pencils, it doesn't happen. And you just see all white here. You don't even see any definitions or shadows or dimensions, or you can't even really see a lot of the fur here. So it's very, very, very subtle. So it is very, very hard to copy a picture per se. But again, we're just getting inspired by these pictures, and I definitely went a little crazy with this one eye and made it a little bit too big. But once it's done in black, you can't take it off. You can paint over areas like this and fix this kind of stuff, but when it comes to drawing, it's stuck there now. And I was having a hard time getting my black to be really dark, so I did pull out a marker to kind of do the nose and the because I couldn't get it light enough again after, so I picked up some blue marker and I tried to fix my nose as best as I could, and actually I was quite surprised. There's a strong shine on it there, but because it's different than the pencils. But I did actually learn a few tricks, like, not bad. I like the blue highlight on the black just to kind of give it a little bit of dimension. So again, like I said, is this perfect? No. If I did it again, and I could probably add more shading underneath his mouth, and I could probably spend 2 more days playing around on this, but it's not going in a frame. It's not going to be given out. It was a practice exercise for myself just to play and get myself into something different. And like I said, but mostly it's this little grid trick that I want to show you today, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to utilize it and get some more better placement. So just imagine yourself, you want to paint this wolf and you got it on a canvas, and you don't have to go to this extreme drawing. Okay, so I'm going to show you some steps where I would stop and start painting instead. And this is what I did today with this as well. I continued on just shading with the same pencil, right? I just mostly use a 2B kind of drawing pencil, same as our school pencils. The kids all use the yellow ones. And so I thought, oh, well, the second try, I want to do something a little different. So I did add some colors, and you're going to see that through the pictorial. Lovely winter weather, which I thought was quite appropriate to look at this guy. He's got snow on him. I was going to add the snow, but then I was like, no, again, I was more worried about trying to learn how his fur goes in different directions, and that was my main focus of this practice, was getting the shading and the placement and the size proportion too, to make him look like a wolf, not a collie or any domestic dog. And that's why I added these little crazy furs on his nose too, because these guys are out in the wild, they're not pet and brushed and taken care of like our pets. So I really wanted to give him that wild look, to make him look like a wolf. Right? So again, a lot of shepherds out here look very similar to this. The nice is the blue eyes that really pop out with some of them. There's so many different species of wolves out there. So, again, just playing with your colors, every dog is going to look different. Okay, so what did I do here? I made all these little V's and things like that. So that's what we're here for today. So if you notice, I started with the eye placement and through the middle of the ear. So what I did was I just grabbed a ruler and I used the guideline, and this is what we've used in the beauty industry too, to even design eyebrows. You know, where should your eyebrow start and where should it stop, and you know, little tricks like that that I've learned through the years through the beauty industry. And what I've also learned through in faces is a lot of times our faces are done in thirds. So you're going to have the top of your head to the top of your eye, your bottom of your eye, or the middle of the eye to the bottom of your nose, and then the bottom of the nose to the chin. So usually they're, you know, fairly similar. Not everybody's perfect. Some people have a small forehead, some people have a small chin area, some people have a small nose. So definitely those are the markers that I'm looking for when I'm trying to get the proportions right. Okay, so this is my little trick that I did. So what I usually start is just by folding the paper in half. Okay, so you print out your paper that you want to use, and then I folded it again in half that way, right? So then I folded it in here, and then I folded it like this, right? So this gives you your 6 sections, 8 sections, very easily. And you could go into even folding it again, but I find just, you know, that's enough, right? Okay, so then when I opened it up, then I can easily find those creases, and that's when I penciled in my main folds. Okay, so you do that first, right? Then you're going to look for the placement like I was saying. So I'm looking for about the middle of the ear, because I want to know where to put that ear, right? And I'm looking at this side of the nose. I was a little bit off here, but you know, this face is a little bit on an angle. It's not a straight on look. So you have to remember that a little bit too. So you're going to have a little bit bigger side on this side than you will on this side. And when you start doing the lines, you can see that this part of the cheek area is bigger than this side. Okay. So back to where we start, like I said, I go right from the side of the nose to the middle of the ear, and I try to grab, and you'll see that a lot of times we're proportioned. When you put that there, it's just on the outside of the eye, okay, and then into, so I make my line right there. Then I go over here, and you'll see, you know, very similar. It's not the tip of the ear, but it is going through the center of the ear, and that's where I want to know. Where is the center of that ear? Where is the outside of the eye? And there is the nose. Okay, so a lot of times you'll get that the placement. But I also want to do some more grid lines, and this is where his face separates from his body. Okay, so this is where I want to know where does it separate, especially with this white guy here. You know, it's really hard to do. So that's when I put a line just basically on the outside of his face. And then I did another one over here. And it's just, you can see the side of his mouth here. So it's just hiding. And basically from the outside of the ear to the outside of the ear, right? So when you put your ruler here from the outside of the ear down, you can kind of see that's the way their faces are. Okay. So the next step I did was to find those areas, you know, in obviously animals aren't proportioned like people, and if I get into doing portraits more, I might get into a little bit more of people placement, but for animals, definitely they don't have that third section. So really I'm only worried about the top of his head. Okay, so I'll draw a line right there, and it's just above that first section. Okay. Then I went down through his eyes. Okay, so obviously this guy is on an angle, so his eyes aren't going to be perfectly straight across. But you can see through the one eye, right? And then it went across to the top of the bottom eye. Okay, trying to just go straight across. And what I did was I measured this too, just for curiosity. Oops, that's centimeters. Depends on where you are in the world. So that's about 2¼ inches. And then when I measured from the bottom of his eye to the bottom of his nose, I found that was another 2¼ inches. So that's what I tried to do, was separate my neck sections. Okay, so then I drew a line right underneath his nose. Okay, so that line here is just part of our original grid. So the only 2 extra lines that I put in sideways are the top of the head and under the nose, and through the eyes and under the nose. Okay, does that hopefully make a little more sense that I made a video on this? Okay, so then now when you go look through the little pictorial that follows, that you'll be able to understand how I got these lines in here. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick little demo on a new guy, just to show you again. This guy is facing even more over, right? So you hardly see this side of the face at all. Okay, so right now I want to go through the center of the ear. I'm placing it to the corner of his eye, and then you can see how his nose is all the way over here. Okay, so is that a good, you gotta choose. You don't always have to listen to a rule and use only the outside of the eye. But when you do a line here and you place this through, you'll see when you're going to copy that your marker is the pupil. Okay, so then I go over here to the center of the ear. Now I'm looking at the eye and I'm looking at the nose. So you see on this one, it actually hits the outside of the eyeball and just slightly off. So I'm just going to go and move that just a bit over and draw a line through there. Okay, so this really helps to marker. So I have my center line grid here, and this line here practically goes right through the center of this grid line. Okay. And then this guy here, did that not go through? Oh, I don't think it went through. Oh no, it did go through. Alright, so this is my original grid line, and this is the line I made for placement on where his eyes and his nose and everything is all aligned. Okay, so then again I'm looking for his face. Okay, so again usually underneath his ear is a good place. Okay, and then again I'm going to go on this side, and this side you can hardly see, right? But just for curiosity, I'm like, this part here sticking out is probably his fur. So I can easily go from the outside of his ear and make a line right there. So these extra lines are going to help you now. If you can see, let me try and zoom in. Okay. So what you do is you make your grid lines here, and I showed you in the pictorial. So basically you find the center. Okay, so it's 9 inches, so about 4.5. Right, so I'm going to make my center line down the middle. Then I'm going to find my center line in the middle here, so it's about 11.5 inches. So we're looking about 5.25. And it doesn't have to be totally exact, right? So because if I do love this and I want to keep this, I'm going to cut this right along this line here, right? So I don't really want to go too high up into my top here. Okay, so then you can go up just a little bit more. I'm just eyeballing this, right? Okay, that's about half. And then a half again. And then half again. Okay, I'm just doing this really quickly. Like I said, you could measure this out and get exact measurements so that your original grid line is going to be, even for you like you did on your picture. Okay, so you'll have better success if you do have your proportions properly. But I just want to do a quick little demo. Okay, so here I have, you're looking at where this is. Okay, so this is from this line to this line, it's not half. So I'd say that's about 2/3. So over here, I'm going to put in a little tick where my 2/3 is. Then over here, going through his eyes, it's just underneath that corner. So again, I'll put a little tick right there. Okay. So this one here, I'm looking at the grid. Again, this is about halfway, right? So we have one that's just over half and one that's just over, maybe 3/4, a little bit more than 3/4. Okay, so this is just a guide, right? So we're going to put one about here and one about here. Okay, and then when you're looking where they're falling through the lines, so this is about halfway, this is about 2/3, so then we've got this one. Okay. And again, we can finish this line up here. Again, there's about your half, so it's just under half. Okay, there's your half. So that's about there. So I'll make my first line like this. And don't go very hard, guys. I'm trying to make this hard so you guys can see, right? But it'll be really hard to erase. So really make your guidelines really easy, light for you, okay? All right, and then there's our nose one. Okay, so down here, it's going down about 3/4. Okay, so about there. And at the top here, it's inside our grid over about, you know, again, 3/4. There's about your half. So it's just a little bit over 3/4. Okay, so we can put a little tick there. Put the eraser marks. Okay. And so, like I said, you're not going to be totally exact, right? So just try to go with it so that you just got some placement lines. Okay. It's a little bit low. It's supposed to go right there. So anyways, I hope you get the idea of it. Okay. And so you're just trying to mimic these lines that you created on here and for placement. Okay, so this one here is definitely on a bit of an angle. It's not straight up, right? So there, it ends there. So then you can kind of copy that one, right? So I try to make it simple, all right? Try not to make too many ticks. As you can see on this one, I kind of lost my placement there because I'm looking at the monitor and I'm looking at what I'm doing and I'm trying to explain things all at the same time. All right, so there's my other line here. Okay, it's off to the side of this one. And we'll place another one there. Okay, so this is where, again, you can fold your paper now in these little sections. Okay, so there's a picture of that showing you just the top. Usually I start at the top. Is there anything there? No. Is there anything there? Yeah. So this is basically in my seconds here. Alright, so this is where I'll start playing around and getting my placement. Okay, and his eye is going right through there, so you can, you know, put a little bit of an eye in there and start his placement of his ear. His ear is almost right down to the bottom, so, you know, you can definitely use this as a marker. Okay. So again, with the sideways placements, again, I didn't put that in there. Okay, so we're going to put one right across the top of his head, one through his eyes, and then one to the bottom of his nose. Okay, so now you can kind of measure your facial features. Okay, so that again is about 2 1/4, and then from there to the bottom of his nose is actually 2 inches, right? So you're going to make this proportion bigger than this proportion from through his eyes to his nose. And hopefully these little markers will guide you a little bit better on placing. It doesn't matter what you're drawing. You're drawing a picture of a bird, a cat, a dog, any animal. Okay, it really helps you when you use the eyes and the nose and the ears as markers, and then you can easily try and put it in here. Okay, so I don't want to do the whole drawing here for you, but this is the biggest trick to get started and get your grid lines out, and then you can follow very easily, you know, which ones where it falls in your grid. Okay, it's an old school trick. Many artists have used, you know, for years. And so if you haven't heard of it before, I'm glad to share it with you. And hopefully that helps you with your placement on trying to do different animals. I did play along for a long time, play around, take a break. So sometimes videoing is not always easy for me to do a long project. So if it's a big project, definitely pictorials might be the best way for you to see the step by step. Thanks and have a great day. Happy painting, guys, or drawing.
Audio Jungle.